Hi, Phil here from St. Augustine, Florida. You notice I got on my jacket today. Well, for us in Florida, it's cold. You see, whenever it has a 4 in front of the other digit, we're cold. And this morning had a 3 in front of the other digit, we're really cold. Now, if you're watching this from up north, you're probably thinking, those guys don't know what cold are. So we're thinking of you right now, but anyway, I want to thank you for joining me. I want to give a little background, a little history on why we even started this channel, what was the purpose of it, and kind of where the philosophy came from. And the philosophy actually came from a couple that I went to 25 years ago, one of their seminars, and it was all about not just how to find balance in your life, but how to make your life easier, how to make your business easier, how to make your relationships easier. And it was all built off of the concept, which is not new, but that everybody in the world is fighting to go upstream. You know, you're taught this from birth, basically, that when you get in, you got to climb here, you got to climb the ladder, you got to get this, you got to get that. So then you get to a point in your life where you start the climbing, and whether it's at a job, in a relationship, marriage, school, you know, you're always wanting more education. You're always going upstream. You're always fighting to get, and what we see, at least in my life over the past few years, what I found was just going upstream just wears me out. It makes me tired. It causes high blood pressure. It can cause stress. I suffer a little bit from anxiety, if you want to call it suffering. So I was looking for something. There had to be a better way. And I looked at the people around me, and I said, well, they're stressed out too, so they don't have a lot of the answers. And the reason for that is Esther and Jerry talk about in their seminar is that all these people are trying to go upstream, whether it's life, business, or whatever. And their concept, or their philosophy, or their spiritual teaching, whatever you want to call it, was, why don't you just turn the canoe around? Why don't you just go downstream? And it really made sense to me. Like, instead of fighting life, why not enjoy it more? Instead of fighting business, why not enjoy it more? And I came to the conclusion you'll make more money going downstream than you did upstream. You'll have better relationships going downstream than you do upstream. But I think the biggest aha moment for me was when Esther said, you know, the thing about going upstream is there's nothing up there you really want. You're never fulfilled, because no matter how high you go, you always want more. You always want more, because you're fighting upstream in a current's just taking you under at times. And I'm sure maybe, as I have, maybe you felt like that no matter how hard you try, you seem to be getting behind more. Well, it really wasn't the life that was doing that to me, because life is life, right? You can't, some things are out of your control, is what I'm trying to say. So when you turn that canoe around in your life, or in your business, or in your relationships, you start going downstream. And we all know it's easier to go downstream than it is upstream. But here was the big moment for me. She said, everything that you want is downstream. There's nothing up there that you really want. You're not going to be satisfied. And that hit me. That hit me as, whether it's a philosophy of life, or a spiritual teaching of life, or just common sense. I don't know. You can decide that. It's your choice. But it did make sense to me. So what I decided to do was turn that canoe around and see what that looked like in my life, right? This channel then was inspired by the husband of my daughter. They were recently married, not too many months ago. And we're sitting around, he and I, one day, and he said, you know, getting old is awesome. And I thought, getting old is awesome. You must have a good back, and you must be in great shape. And he goes, no, I'm not talking about that. He goes, you think about it, the older we get, the wiser we get. And if you were to ask me right now, one thing that's missing in the world is wisdom. And we need the older people, whatever that age is, to be able to give that wisdom to other people, so hopefully they won't make the same mistakes. So I thought about it, and it kind of changed my thinking of, yeah, you're getting older, but this is awesome, because now you have something to share with people. And I began to think, okay, what do you got to share with people, Phil? And I thought, well, I could write a book, because my children have been on me for years. You got to write a book about Latin America. You got to write a book about what you did here. You got to write a book. And I go, the only book that I could write, guys, is the 100 Steps to Failure, the 100 mistakes that you make throughout your lifetime. And even then, no one would buy the book, right? So I thought, that wisdom, though, those failures or those mistakes are really what has had a greater impact on my life in an older age than the things that I did well. Because the things that I did well, I celebrate, and I'm very thankful for, I'm very proud of. But the greatest lessons came from the mistakes that I made, the failures that I had in my life. And I was sitting around my wife one day, we were talking, and I said, you know, wouldn't it be awesome if we could share kind of what we went through, so hopefully they won't go through it? That's called wisdom. That's where the wisdom comes from. And I look back over my career in real estate. I was a missionary before that down in Latin America, and I came back, got into real estate. I've been doing it now over 28 years almost. And I thought, not only is there wisdom in relationships and wisdom in children and raising children and all that wisdom, but there also is that business, because in business, whether you're in sales or you're working for someone else, well, a lot of us are fighting upstream. And I know when I got into sales and real estate, the number one thing to do was look around and see what everybody else was doing. So I remember I paid $4,000 for my first website. Now you can get them almost free. But 27 years ago, they were the thing. And I looked around and I saw some of the other top agents doing that. And I said, well, if they're doing it, I got to do it. So you see where this pattern gets going in any business, but especially I've noticed in sales, is that people see what other people are doing and they just start doing it. They don't ever ask the question, is this model going upstream? Meaning, is this model sustainable, right? Or are they going downstream? Remember now, everything I want is downstream. So then I began to look at different ways, and I became, in the very beginning, very successful. Why was I successful my first year? Well, because I didn't follow the stream up the river. I turned the canoe around and said, you know what? I have got to do this in a way that fits my personality, my being, my energy level. And if I do that, then it's going to be a much easier job for me. And I did 13 million my first year. And the price point, if I remember, it was like 285,000. This was in California. So over the years, I've learned a lot about business, and not to look around and see what everybody else is doing and just follow it blindly. Or in life, what everybody else is doing and just follow it blindly. But does it have a purpose? Is what I'm doing really have a purpose for my life and for those around me? Because if it's not, we're just creating more robots to keep going upstream. But you think about it, if you turn that canoe around, whether it's canoe of life, canoe of business, canoe of sale, whatever it is, if you turn it around, it's much easier. And here's something that I've learned over the years, is that if you turn the canoe around and you do it that fits what you want and your desires, it's much easier than trying to do what other people are doing. Because you look at it, a lot of people come from different backgrounds, right? Some of us come from a single parent. Some of us come from mom and dad. being at home and being there and being very supportive. Some of us come from not having a place to live, and we were taken in by another family. And all of those canoes, whatever you want to call it, you can turn them around and go in the right direction if you're seeking wisdom. And if you find a way that fits your personality, your inner being, your energy, and your goals in your life. I always think about this. If you have goals in your life, you're going upstream. If you have dreams in your life, you're going downstream. And you might want to ask yourself the question right now, do you really have big dreams for your life? If you are, you're headed in the right direction, you're going downstream. If you have a bunch of goals that you make every year, you're probably headed upstream. And many of us took those goals from other things that we heard. But those dreams, they're yours. They're individual. And what makes that so awesome to me is you're unique. There will never be another you. Ever. Ever, ever, ever. Now, there may be people that look a little bit like you, maybe in your family, or you may meet someone on the side of the road and you go, that kind of looks like me, but it will never be you. Your DNA is specific to you. So if we begin to discover in all aspects of our life how to get in the canoe and go downstream, I guarantee you, you're going to enjoy your life much more. You're going to have more fun in your life, and you're going to be more successful, whatever that means to you, because it's always easier to go downstream than it is fight the current going upstream. Another thing that I learned over the years was the road upstream is filled, right? Both lanes. I mean, they're just filled. They're just trying to get up there. They're just trying, and it's just filled with all kinds of people. Going downstream with your life and figuring out you and figuring out what's good for you, it's not that many people going down there. So it's easier. You got more room to maneuver. You got more room to make decisions. And if you make a decision that's not good, just keep going. You just keep going downstream. So what I'm trying to do, my purpose in all of this is to share the wisdom of what I learned through failure and success, and hopefully be an inspiration to you that there's more than one way to go through life. You don't have to keep fighting the stress, the unbalance, whatever it means to you. You can now turn it around and go the other way. And as we share, we'll be sharing quite often on this channel, so that maybe you'll find something in there that will help you. And we want you to subscribe. Why do I want you to subscribe? I want to know you're here. I'm interested in your story. I'd like to know more about you, because after all, you are unique. So as we share, just chime in. Let me know what you're thinking. I'd like to hear from you. I'd like to know more about you. And if I can ever be a help, I'm always here in St. Augustine. And hopefully this weather gets a little bit better before my next video. So until then, all I got to say to you is, let's go downstream.